What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. In today's first story, a horrible Karen pretty much forces one of her neighbours to put up Christmas lights on his house, even when he doesn't have the money required to do so. Before we jump into that though, guys, if you aren't already, please consider subscribing to my channel if you do go on to enjoy this video. I'm trying to hit 600,000 subscribers by the end of 2020, and I am currently posting 2 videos each and every day. So if you want to stay up to date and get me to that milestone, it'd be greatly appreciated if you hit that button. Karen gets mad at my friend for not having Christmas lights on his house. This story is from a friend I used to have about 2 years ago. Since Christmas is in the air, it reminded me of this story he told me about his interaction with a Santa edition Karen. First of all, some backstory/info. My friend, let's call him Frank, was in quite a struggling family. They had trouble with bills, had underpaid jobs, and had 3 mouths to feed. To save as much money as possible to get the best presents they could, they scrapped the idea of Christmas lights, Christmas trees, and overall any decorations. They did still have Christmas dinner. Clearly, it worked well, as they just managed to get by each year. Well, this wasn't the first time he was spoken to about his cheap living. So, on to the story. It was December 2016, as I recall, and that time of year rolled around. The last month, he had new neighbours. Unfortunately, one of them was a Karen who criticised everything. It was clear she cared a lot about the condition and state of the neighbourhood and wanted it to be absolutely pristine. Cut to later on, when most, if not all, people on Frank's Road had some kind of Christmas decor on their front yard. Then Karen comes along. The conversation went along the lines of this. "Excuse me, Frank, are your parents home? I would like to speak to them, please." "Sorry, no," Frank said. "They're back at around 7 p.m. I can pass on the message if you want." Okay, well, see, it's about your house. Don't you have any decorations to put up? It's a bit late in the month. I want this place to look all festive, and this is ruining it." "No, we don't have any of them. We're struggling a bit, you know, bills, food." "Oh, that's unacceptable." "Sorry? I need you to put up something. Being poor is no excuse for not celebrating." "Excuse me? First off, I'm not even Christian. I don't need to do anything on your behalf. We may be poor, but at least I'm not one owning a heart as cold as this weather. Consider putting some Christmas lights up your butt. It's the only place that's close enough as dark as your heart. Poor is an excuse for many things, some a lot more important than some fairy lights. I will be speaking to your parents in person. Disgusting you children are. Go have a Merry Christmas while I enjoy being in my so-called poor family." Frank told me that he wasn't too offended by what she said, but he was happy that he finally spoke up against her. "I lost contact with him a year ago. I hope he's doing fine. I wish everyone a happy Christmas break too." Oh yeah, that actually reminds me. I forgot to ask you guys, those of you that are still in college or in school or whatever, are you now on Christmas break? I don't particularly know how it works across the world. I only really know in England, to be honest. So comment down below, are you on Christmas break? If so, happy holidays. That's the first thing to say. Second of all, let's talk about the story, shall we? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that, as OP says, you don't need to put Christmas lights on your house, especially when you can't afford to do so and you're better off spending money on, you know, food and bills, the actual important things in life. Yeah, I guess it is nice to have lights on, you know, your house. I mean, we've got quite a few lights around our house because we choose to do so, but you don't have to do that, you know? It's not like a prerequisite to enjoy Christmas and to fit in with the neighborhood. You have to put lights up in your house. Karen's being silly here. Let's just say that, and she needs to keep herself to herself. If you want to put lights on your house and go all out, absolutely fine. I mean, I'd encourage it. I like lights, but you can't force that on other people. Come on. Now moving on to our next story. My colleague, who's an entitled mum, demands to know how much of a raise I got. When I tell her it's none of her business, she loses her mind. This colleague of mine, let's just call her Karen to keep it simple, is 20 years older than me and has 2 kids. We've pretty much started at the same time at our current workplace. I only had a few months advantage. But because of the kind of field I've been working in, I had some special knowledge at the time, and just after a few months, I've had to teach some new colleagues, including Karen. Everyone who I taught became independent after a while, everyone but Karen. She was always dealing with her family at working hours, talking on her phone with school teachers, her mother-in-law, her mother, her kids, her husband, her sisters, pediatricians, sometimes pharmacists, and so on, depending on the issue currently at hand. Most of the time, she called her kids for banal things. Start the washing machine, open the window in your room, eat, drink, take your medicine, do your homework, etc. The oldest of her kids is 13 years old, by the way. "My family and my children are more important than this," she used to say, referring to our job. The point is that she was on her phone a lot. And because of this, she worked very slow and made many mistakes, and had a hard time seeing through big projects. She hasn't even really paid any attention, I think, because she knew I would always help her, and I did, because she was my partner. We work in pairs in this workplace. Because of her attitude, our immediate boss always handed me the harder, more complicated work with greater responsibility. Many times, I was forced to work overtime. When work has accumulated, Karen would always say, "I can't stay, I have 2 kids," and left. Always. Not once would she stay and help. This year, around spring, there was an amendment of the law, which made it possible that age does not determine the level of salary, but rather abilities and skills. Basically, it lets the immediate bosses decide the salary and paid leave days, and now age and number of children are not as authoritative as before. So, when the amendment came into force, our boss summoned all of us one by one and told everyone in private how the person's salary and leave days would change and why. We have been told that this information is private and is forbidden to share and discuss between colleagues. So, my boss told me that he knows I work very hard and much more than my older partner, so I would deserve her salary. But unfortunately, he can't raise it by that much due to the budget. So, he gave me a 50% raise and 5 more paid leave days. I was unspeakably happy. That was way more than I expected. I went back to my office and continued my work. Karen was the last one summoned in. I saw that she was already sitting on needles. When she came back, she was fuming. "That's it, I'm gonna find a new job," she said. "Why? What's happened?" I asked. "I didn't get any raise, and my paid leave days will decrease. They can't take away my leave days. I have 2 children." The truth is that basic leave days could drop due to leadership decisions, but mothers still got extra days per child. I tried to stop her. "Karen, we really should not discuss this. We were told it is forbidden to share." She stormed out of our office. After half an hour, she returned, still angry. "Susan," another colleague, has 2 kids, also got her days decreased. Her basic is now lower than Janet, also a colleague but has no kids. I tried to reason. Susan works only 6 hours a day, and Janet takes all the big projects. "But Janet has no children, no family. Why would she get more days? I bet she got a raise too." Karen, that's the point. Abilities and skills matter more than the number of children from now on. Besides, again, we're not allowed to discuss this matter. If you're unhappy with the decisions, then you should go and talk to our boss. "They don't appreciate me. You have no children either. Tell me, how much raise did you get?" "None of your business, Karen." I kept my cool, and maybe that's what peed her off the most. She immediately demanded that our boss let her change her seat because she doesn't want to sit and work next to me anymore. He didn't allow it. Karen still sits and sometimes works next to me. A little satisfaction that our salaries converged. Well, my understanding is that converged means get closer together, so given that Karen's salary was already higher than yours before you got a raise, that means that Karen, I think, still has a higher salary than you, which is just ludicrous. So pretty much despite all these new regulations going through, Karen is still getting paid more than you, despite her doing absolutely nothing and you doing all the work. That doesn't really sound fair to me. Yes, it's good that you've got a massive raise, but if she's still getting more than you for doing none of the work, that's not exactly fair, is it? I think this Karen needs to understand that having kids doesn't mean you should just get paid more money. You know, that's not really how it works. It's your choice to have a kid, just in the same way it's your choice not to have kids. And I personally don't think your salary, your base salary, should really reflect that. If you choose to have kids, you know you're going to have to spend more money on your family than if you don't. I mean, it's just obvious, right? Honestly, in my opinion, I think your salary should solely be determined by how good you are at your job and then how hard you work, just paying skillful people that are skillful at their job, rather than people that, have children, but are really realistically just adding nothing to the company's value. There are benefits in place for that, though. Government benefits. If you have children, you can go and get physical money from the government. That's the point of child benefit, not from your, not directly from your employer, but that's in the UK. Anyway, let's move on to our final story. Entitled Mum confronts me for having the audacity to buy our house when her son wanted it. Brief backstory. Back in March, I, a 25-year-old female, and my partner, a 27-year-old male, bought a house. big deal for us, and we're so glad we managed to pull this off, especially right before the pandemic got bad. It's a livable fixer-upper. The lady that lived here bought it in 1967 and was the only owner before us, and she made no updates in that time. It keeps us busy, and that's worked out really well being home so often. Yeah, I reckon it's probably like the best time at the moment to be working on your own house. That's pretty lucky. Now to the event with the entitled mum. In May, my big project was pulling out some nasty bushes that had taken over a huge chunk of the front side yard. It was hot, I was sweaty, I'm digging out roots and throwing branches. As I'm right up front and making a pretty drastic change to the yard, people noticed. Most neighbours stop by, say a quick hello from the car and drive away, but not the entitled mum. She pulls up in a shiny black Suburban from the opposite side of the road, parks the wrong way, and rolls down her window. I'd say she's in her 50s to 60s. Grey, white, bob cut hair. I stand up and pause my music. The following conversation isn't exact, but pretty close, as this conversation was just so entitled. Hey, did you buy this house? Yep, just moved in last month. Did you know the family? That sold it? Not really. We just got lucky they chose us, I guess. I'm trying to be nice at this point, but I'm kind of off-put she's asked none of the typical neighbour questions. We made a great offer. Yeah, my son really wanted this house. He grew up in this neighbourhood, you know? Oh, darn. Yeah, houses move fast right now. No, as in he spent his whole life in this area. He really deserved to stay in the neighbourhood, you know? Yeah, that's too bad. I've got major what the F feelings now. How much did you offer? I say, not about to tell her the details, over asking price. We were proactive. Well, my son really wanted that house. I feel quite awkward at this point with this whole situation, and I'm just looking to shoo this lady along. Yeah, well, I'm sure more houses will go up for sale around here. Well, that doesn't help him now, does it? He had his heart set on this house. I just exaggeratedly shrug and decide to resume my root cutting to try and give her the message. You're probably flipping it. He would have loved it. No, we're not. We are staying long term. Yeah, right. And she doesn't leave. I'm wondering if I should go inside or something. She just keeps looking at me, expecting me to say something. I keep cutting at her roots. Is it just you, or did your family help you get it? I'm getting pretty short in tone at this point. My partner and I bought it together. My grandkids would have loved the yard. A loved yard makes a house a home, you know? I'm not looking up. Well, my dogs will love it, especially once I'm done. Seriously? I just scoff, pull my roots out, throw it on a pile. I feel her eyes watching me. At this point, I'm really ready to be done. Well, have a good day. Then, with a last glare and an she speeds off, leaving quite an annoyed and bewildered me in my dirty glory, mulling over what the heck just happened. Did this freaking lady just try to guilt trip me because we bought a house her son wanted? Indeed, apparently. What the F? Definitely the most unwelcome interaction I've had since we've moved in, and I've not seen her since. Wow, to be honest, that suggests to me that she doesn't even live in the neighbourhood anymore herself. She was genuinely just passing by, or maybe she came over on purpose to have a look at the house and see if it was still up for sale or something. I don't really know. Yeah, last time I checked, you can't bagsy houses. You know, if someone wants to buy it and they're actually serious and they have the money, then you can't stop them from doing that. Just because your son might want to move back in here in X number of years' time because he lived here when he was young. Very, very weird logic from this. I'm not even gonna lie, I can't call it logic. Weird words coming out of this lady's mouth. I think she needs to keep herself to herself, to be honest, and just admire the fact that, you know, these two have bought the house, overpaid for it perhaps, and are making it into something really nice to go in with the rest of the neighbourhood. Yeah, it's a weird one. I think her son will be alright having another house though. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/EntitledParents. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, drop a like on this video and comment your thoughts on these stories down below. If you want more from me right away, then I've got a playlist of all my best, well, all of my Entitled Parents videos up on screen there. If you are new to my channel, as I said in the intro, make sure you are subscribed. And if you want some lovely merch for Christmas, then that is available right here as well. All right, peace, guys. See you later with a brand new upload.